are we? Whew, it's early in the morning, guys. Good morning. How's it going, everybody? All right. Well, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Thanks for hanging out this morning. And here's my little hint to you. This is the room that I am currently in. Anybody know what's going down? Can anyone tell? A room solving puzzle. Gosh, you wish. A therapist is closer. A therapist is closer. No. Ladies and gentlemen, the YPP podcast returns. No promotion. No buying some business. No. This is going to be our podcasting room here. So we'll talk more about it later. But let's go ahead and get into what is going to be headed into our future. All right. So, what? I'm going to be doing a chat with a YPP community member. I'm hoping to publish one every 2 weeks. Could be more, could be less often. And so the format is going to be, we're going to have some general questions for the community member. Things like, what's your favorite part about the game? What's your least favorite part about the game? Or what would you change? How are you? You know, what are some of your goals, etc. Then we'll take a little break within the little podcast thing. We'll come back. We'll ask some specific questions to these guests. They will know ahead of time. I don't want to catch anyone blindsided. So everybody who will be a part of the podcast will know what's up. They'll know what's being asked of them, right? And then we'll also play some games. These are some podcasting games that I have seen in my experience with listening to podcasts and seeing interviews and guests and things like that. So we'll have a little bit of fun as well. Cool. Now, where? They're going to be hosted on my YouTube channel, which I believe... Let's see. Let me see if I can figure out the tiny URL for that. Just give me a second. tinyurl.com/jazz. Yeah, this is my YouTube right here. So if you would like to go and drop it a follow, subscribe, whatever it's supposed to be. We've already got some pretty good material there, but this is where the podcast episodes are going to be hosted. In an audio-only format. However, the guests will hopefully they'll be in this room with me, so we can like interact and see the game chat and move around a bit. And then this will be the video feed that's coming in for the YouTube channel. So that is the idea. And yeah, so that's where it's going to be hosted. I'll of course be posting links. Etc., etc. So next we have who. So we've already confirmed Little Bunny, Geologist, Pros, Prolific. I've got about 5 outstanding invitations right now for other people, and you. So if you feel like you want to give a little bit of perspective on your corner of the ocean, then reach out, and I'll be happy to talk about possibly doing an episode with you guys. So if that's something that you're interested in, then please reach out to me. I am not going to act like I know what is going on all over the ocean, because there are so many different parts of this game that I don't understand. And obviously we've got a lot of streamers lined up, and that's because that's part of my community. So I'm hoping that as we move through episodes, I could start to get a little into territory that's uncharted for myself. So if you know someone who has a really interesting story, or would just be really interesting to talk to, then you can also reach out and maybe refer. That would be really helpful to me as well, because I'm not trying to, this is not going to be like a good old boy situation. I would like to talk to all different kinds of people with all different types of skill. Like if you know somebody who just like secretly runs all of the shops on the ocean and does all the labor or something like that, like if you know a situation like that, I'd like to hear about it. You know, it's not something that I'd be familiar with, but it's something that I'd like to hear about. So yeah, you guys, that's who I'm hoping to interview. And then that brings us to why. Right now, Puzzle Pirates is probably the most toxic it's ever been. We have a few people who are running around in everybody's tails. So if you're feeling like someone is like being toxic to you, you're not alone. There are a few people that are just not nice people. And I think that when you get that kind of harassment and you don't get to have conversations with people that you don't know that aren't positive, right? If you have your own little corner, your own little crew, your own little flag, your own little ocean, your own little island that you govern, whatever, and you get the positive feedback from those same 7 people, and then you get negative feedback from people you've never met before constantly, what happens is you start to become a recluse, right? You stop trusting just, the average schmuck on the Admiral docks. And I think that's a problem, because this game is such a community game. So if Puzzle Pirates is a big old high school, which let's face it is sometimes, why does it have to be the community where there's all these little cliques and things? We can have blockades. Why do we have to be toxic about 2 flags fighting for an island? It just doesn't make any sense, right? So I'm hoping that this podcast will subject you to some people you would never talk to, and you would hear their voice, and you would hear their opinions, and you would hear what they do, maybe IRL if they're free to share that, and you might be able to empathize, and empathize. Oh my gosh, it's early. Might be able to empathize and connect with that person, even though you thought maybe you couldn't, right? So that's the first thing. Number 2, we've got gather new perspective. So yeah, again, this is kind of a reiteration, but the idea would be that you learn a little bit more about the game, because not everybody knows everything about all of it. So I'm hoping that it will open your eyes to some ideas, to some tips, to some ways to play this game in a way that you've never played before. And then finally, we've got real world practice. Let's be real, guys. 3 years ago, when I did my Puzzle Pirates podcast, it kind of sucked. My guests were amazing. I was terrible at being an interviewer. And I am not kidding when I say I have actually listened to podcasts and watched YouTube videos and read articles online for the past month or so, off and on, trying to learn how to be a good interviewer. I want to have this skill because there are some people that I love in my life that could tell you right now that I'm not a very good listener. And so I want to use this as a channel to hopefully improve my ability to listen and dig deep. And so, while we do podcast episodes and things, feel free to call me out about whatever, because I want to use this as a learning opportunity for myself. Now, real world practice for you too, because if you are shy, you don't like sharing things about yourself, you get nervous easily, you have trouble with public speaking, etc. If you want to be a part of the podcast, that might really help you, because this is going to be a very communal process to building the podcast. Basically, if you're a guest, there is no such thing as like whatever we just recorded that has to go out. It's not going to be anything like that. If you missay something, if you speak ill of someone or mention someone you don't want to, then we'll just start over. You just say like, hey, let's cut it there. Let's go back a question. Let's go back 2 questions. Let's try this another day. I want to show whoever is a guest, I want to show the best side of them. So there's not going to be any judgment, and there's not going to be any. I'm not going to share, information about who you are as a person outside. Some of you have had conversations with me in the past about like, what was this person like? What was that person like in my old podcasting? And I told you that like we had conversations out of the recording, but I'm not able to speak on those things. So, you can feel free to be open and things. I like to just kind of have my eye on things, which, yeah, that brings me to that. So John the Carper down here says, would be dank if you could interview Krabby the Kid or an Ocean Master. I agree. I sent them a petition, and they said this needs to be an email. And then I sent them an email, and then it didn't get responded to. Then I sent them another email, then it didn't get responded to. Then I sent them another email, then it didn't get responded to. And I sent it to all of their support emails, general emails. I don't think it's going to happen. I think if we get to like 50 people being interviewed on this podcast and like they finally get curious about it and listen, then maybe. Probably not, though. So I'm not going to get my hopes up about that. Probably no developers, Ocean Masters in the future. I've tried very hard to try and communicate with some past Ocean Masters and developers and ringers and things, and they just don't want to be bothered. I don't know what sort of dark history that the making of this game has, but I'm telling you right now, none of those people want to talk about this. This was like some weird college hazing at the beginning of their computer engineering careers. I don't know. But they're not talking to me about it. And this is a similar problem with what's going on with the moderation of this game. They don't talk to us about it. So we can sit here and theorize whatever we want, and it could be as nuts, like conspiracy far in a direction as we want, because there's no one there to tell us that we're wrong, and there's no one there to tell us their own side of the story. So, in that same way, there are people on this game, I'm not going to name any names, but there are people on this game that you can think of right now that you're like, they cheat, definitely. They do this, definitely. They do this, definitely. Dip says Hera makes the bots. Maybe she does. We don't know. She's never told us she doesn't make bots. But there are people in the community that you can already think about that you're like, you know what, that person is blank and nothing else. But I'm willing to bet that those people that are part of our community are doing the things that they're doing for a reason, or they're not even doing that thing at all. You know what I mean? So, yeah. That's the idea. I'm really hoping to get these out as soon as possible. Expect at least one by the end of this month. I think we're going to be expecting at least one by the end of the month. So I appreciate you guys sticking around for the announcement. This VOD right now is going out on the YouTube as the official announcement video. So say hi, YouTube. And that's going to be where we leave it. Expect something very soon. I think Prolific and I are going to have a conversation on Wednesday of next week. So that's probably going to be the first episode. It does take a little while to cut these up because we're going to be using music and backtracks, and we've got to record our audio locally and then sync it up later. So it's not going to be like a doop bop bop. I want to make sure that you guys can like hear both of us clearly, and so you're not going to hear like a Discord chat sound. Hopefully, I mean, if that's all somebody has, then I'm willing to do that. But recording locally using a software like Zoom, etc. All right. So yeah, thanks for listening in. Hope you have a great end to your weekend. And I will check you guys out later. Bye.